presence. Let me tell you a bit about Awakened Creatress. And I am going to start reading from now because I didn't have much time to rehearse. So, Awakened Creatress is a gathering and celebration of women, balance, and self-expression. And it was born a little bit less than a year ago. And after some years of traveling and living in different countries, I started to recognize myself in other people, in other women. I started to understand limitations, conditioning, and fears that I hadn't experienced before. I started to see that being a woman and expressing freely were not always going hand in hand. I saw that in order to be safe, one has to comply to certain rules that go from the way we dress, to the tone of voice, from the words we use, or even to the dreams that we are allowed to have. All those things fall into the box of self-expression. Then I made the connection between those limitations and our own empowerment. Those limitations are curtailing our evolution and power within the society we are living in. They are creating an ever-growing imbalance between men and women in the world that we are living. So, did you know that men apply for jobs when they meet 60% of the hiring criteria, while we wait to have the 100% of the hiring criteria before we apply? That is connected with the fact that we often struggle with confidence since we are little girls. We fear making mistakes, so we are less likely to be taking risks. So this reluctance to take risks, to speak up, to show off our own skills and success is holding us back and is holding our peers back. Besides, showing off is often criticized in general to everybody, but it's even more so for women. We are often called arrogant or bossy when we show the same behavior than our male counterpart. So showing off is always challenging, but it is important. It is important not only for ourselves, but also for everybody around us. Self-expression is the key to sustainable success and happiness, and it is at the bottom line or it is necessary component of leadership. And female leadership is what it is missing these days. So let's compare some numbers in different spheres. From the 195 independent countries in the world, only 17 are led by women. The percentage of women in leadership roles goes even down in the corporate world. Did you know that only 4% of the Fortune 500 CEOs are women? So we rarely see women in those roles, in leadership and inspiring leadership and boss owners. So it is no wonder that the new generations of girls are at a loss. Because we tend to be inspired by what we see, and we tend to be inspired by the people with the same identity. So when we see a woman in a leadership or in a position of power, we tell to ourselves, well, she could, why couldn't I? But when we don't see our own gender playing big, taking risks, leading, then we tell to ourselves the opposite. So that is why I believe that speaking out, playing big, and sharing our manifestations of art, our creations, our businesses, our stories is important, is in fact essential. It is essential to see by ourselves that it is indeed possible and necessary to see that it might not be easy, but it is achievable and rewarding. So I saw this lack of visible and accessible female role models, and I went in the search of them. And I found that there are indeed inspiring I did is I went to them and I asked them for support. And that made all the difference. Because the truth is that when we are supported and mentored by people with the same gender as us, we feel more supported, more satisfied, and then we take more risks. And that is when this event was born. Because I wanted to make things easier. I just wanted to present with all of you the inspiring women I have been meeting all this time. So let's go back to today. To this gathering whose main goal is to allow us to share our stories and our work. And it is to allow all of you to get inspired. And more importantly, if you want, to connect with all of us. So who knows, maybe, hopefully, from tonight there will be more new business ideas born, new mentorships, collaborations, partnerships, and eventually more stories to tell. Stories of women stepping into their own power, stories of struggle and support, stories of an awakened awareness towards the endless possibilities of a more balanced world. I look at the stage and I am in awe with the collective variety of expertise gathered here tonight. And I am deeply honored to welcome them and all of you to this evening. Prepare yourself to be inspired. And before I hand over to Clara Thornton, our host for the night, who will introduce all the participants and delight us with her work, I just want to say once more, welcome.
Oh my Lord! The estrogen-soaked power in this room has given me a delectable form of feeling. Welcome. Greetings and salutations. You marvelous lovers of syllables, women, goddesses, and all the other human beings on this planet who support the previous two entities as well. Can't forget them. My name is Clara Thornton. I originally hail from Chicago, the Windy City. Anybody here been to Chicago? Chicago is a marvelous place, very Irish city, very Irish American city as well. But I've been here for the last 3 years. And Ireland is actually the 6th country that I've lived in and run my independent company in as well. I run a company called Inkblot Complex, and it's a literature and entertainment company that focuses on literature events, workshops, also disseminating journalism and broadcasting that primarily focuses on issues of social justice, primarily racial injustice and issues of feminism. I put on events across North America, in Asia, across Europe, for audiences and participants from as little as 3 and 4 years old, all the way up to senior citizen level. And it's such an inspiring and life-affirming process to feel like you're connecting with other people from so many different cultures, but also doing that while being a woman, a young woman, and a woman of color. People just don't really know how to handle that sometimes. It's like you kind of just walk in and they see you're the boss and they go, oh, okay, interesting, great, let's do it, you know? But just as Maria was mentioning there, just that little moment of not even necessarily disbelief, but just surprise. Like, oh, this is the entity that's been sending these very business-like emails, etc. You know, it's, we live in a society that has already made so many leaps and bounds in terms of the perception of women, right? In Ireland and much farther afield, across the West particularly. But there are still so many gaps in the ways we have to, as I put it, be twice as good, 3 times as good, to just get half of the recognition and respect. You know, I tell some of my white male colleagues and friends, you know, you can just walk into a room, you know, at a journalism event, a networking event, whatnot, and someone just automatically wants to know, what publication do you run, or you're associated with, you know, when did you start your business, just by virtue of how he looks, by virtue of his assumed anatomy. I walk in the room, and people's initial assumption might be that, first off, I'm somebody's girlfriend, you know, probably not the one in charge, or any number of just associations to a man. So yeah, I kind of like to kick in that door whenever I can, and I have a feeling you guys do too. So happy to be hosting this event with Maria, so happy that she brought me on. I love the name, I love the theme, and I love so many of the women who are going to be presenting tonight. A smorgasbord of entrepreneurial tomfoolery. Beginning with my syllabic tomfoolery. I am a performance poet. I'm the current Leinster Slam Poetry Champion. I won it the last 3 years, and I was told that, still very proud of this, I was the first female to represent Dublin in literature, the first writer of color to represent Ireland in literature, and only the second non-Irish for Leinster, for Dublin. I was like, oh, that's setting a precedent, right? Because as Maria said, when someone sees someone else doing something that they previously hadn't considered a possibility for themselves, that opens the door wide open. I've had young students of color at different, say, poetry events come up to me, excuse me, girl students, and go, oh, when I heard you were going to be here, I was like, oh, cool, I just wanted to ask you some questions, like, how did you do it? How did you get here? And it's so nice because I never really thought of myself as a mentor figure. I was kind of just doing what I do, just being me. And then those moments you stop and you realize, oh, wow, I'm setting a precedent for these young girls, these young people, these brilliant, bustling minds to conceive of themselves following their dreams as well. Oh, it's a good feeling. So, to start off, I'm going to open up the show with two poems that I feel have one of them definitely does, and the other one has a bit of a subtle femme-centric vibration. And I say that because it's a poem about focusing so much on a proposed ideal for yourself. You know, a certain relationship, a certain man, a certain something, this paradigm you have in mind of what your life should be, needs to be, as opposed to focusing on what's right there in front of you and all the beauty and opportunity right there. And I do think as women, we are societally encouraged sometimes to not focus on the power we actually have, that our circumstance actually holds, but rather always be reaching to be perfecting ourselves somehow. So, the first piece is called Phantoms. The trail of your fingers down the knots of my backbone are an elegant whisper of smoke. Or at least, that's how I imagined it. When there remained yet a glimmer of hope. You never touched me, not in that real way. You never drowned me in the shipwreck of your raven mane. And I never got to sing the song of us, with its softly ascending chords and that breathing refrain. There are phantoms that never existed in space, only time, that follow each and every one of us alive, yet that often seem to possess more meat and inspire more poems than the real ones. The near ones, the dear ones. The ones standing right here, the ones we fear, the ones standing too near to be dear ones. Phantom lives, sprayed with the contaminated sands of time. Phantom lives, following each and every one of us alive. We often seem to want to reminisce about the one who got away. Instead of worship the moments with that one who ate our fear today. The real ones, the near ones, the dear ones, the ones standing right here, the ones we fear, the ones standing too near to be dear ones. The past is merely a story that we tell ourselves. Thank you. Before I introduce our next speaker, I have one final poem for you all. And throughout the evening, I just want to warn you two things. I tend to say marvelous a lot. So you might hear that sprinkled about. It's my 6th favorite word of all time. Maybe throughout the night I'll give you a treat and tell you some of the others. I don't know. I do some purring as well.
Bring on the purring.
That's all about the feline enjoyment. And the second one is, I am the granddaughter of a Chicago preacher, a Southern Black Baptist preacher. And though I, no offense to any organized religion, but though I do not follow, Christianity per se, the church in Black America is very culturally influential. And so I get to do a little shouting. Sometimes I get to do a little preaching. That means I'm getting excited. So, don't think I'm going to start handing out pamphlets. I'm going to start going like, praise the Lord. Lord, them women, do it. Okay. So, this second piece is called Bleed, he said. And I wrote this as an expulsion of emotions connected to my first and only thus far relationship in Ireland with a gentleman that turned out to be a sexist, racist, narcissist, alcoholic. Good times! Good times! Literally embodied all the worst negative stereotypes of Irish men, of men. It's just, So, I wrote this piece, but as I performed it around, it started to take on a different life. Like, so many women would come up to me and say, wow, I had an experience so similar to that. And in just doing some research about just the history of women's movements in this country, it came to be more a dedication to Irish women and everything that they have had to deal with in a state where it was still in law that a portion of women's society had to give up their jobs upon marriage, even until 1973. Or that abortion is still illegal. Condoms were just legalized in what year? Like, was it 1989 or later, the 1994? Just bodily autonomy still not existing. So this piece goes out to all y'all beautiful Irish women. Let's squash the patriarchy. Bleed, he said. And he told me that nothing was for me. He said, I am entitled to everything that is you, and all you feel is you is actually me. I am the molten liquid inside of your veins. I am the fetid self-doubt, standing in pools, in corners, waiting to be drained. I am the joy. I am the support. I am the absolution. Never mind the fact I have an 8th grade education and you are on scholarship to university. You won't be paying rent. You're too gorgeous for that. A woman who looks like you doesn't have to do anything. Shouldn't do anything. Oh, they like your words? They're just trying to get their whole. Never mind the fact I have an 8th grade education. This is just how I understand the relation between the genders, between the speaking apparition of your mind and life and mine. Bleed, he said, because my veins are entitled to everything that is you, and all you feel is you, is me. On Google, the 2 top search items regarding poetry are poems about love, then poems of death. But what about the space in between? What about this dying state in between? Bleed, he said. Bleed, he said. This cannibal, this vampire, has not taken the last drop yet. Thank you. Do another piece for you all later in the evening. But right now, we're going to bring on board our smorgasbord of brilliance, estrogen-soaked power. I love that. When you use that, that's like in the future. That's just fantastic. The first one we have coming up to speak about her glorious journey through business and self-actualization is Miss Fiona O'Meara. Fiona is a Toastmaster and a public speaking teacher who enjoys pushing boundaries in public speaking. Love those boundary pushers. She won 2nd place in the UK and Ireland Toastmasters Humorous Speech Contest in 2014 and performs in various comedy improv groups as well. Let's give Miss O'Meara a round of applause and welcome her to Awaken Today.
Most to young people nowadays? Music? Sex? Their mothers? Well, according to the author Edward de Bono, a whopping 94% of American youngsters rate success as the most important thing. Now, I was really surprised to read this, but I suppose I shouldn't have been, because in our world, right from the beginning, we award gold stars to our senior infants and then gold medals to our Olympians. In our world, winners are heroes and losers are nobodies. Now, I'm really interested in success. I love the feeling of success, and I'm really interested in it, possibly because for a long time I don't feel I had much success. Now, it started off really well. I went to college, and I got a first-class honours degree, and first in my postgrad, and I got a really good job in a really good company that earned lots of money, and I was, I guess, on the road to success. But when I was 22, I was diagnosed with ME. So ME is a long-term illness that affects different systems of the body, that affects people to different degrees of severity, and I was very severely affected. Within a few months I was in a wheelchair, and for a long time I actually was bedbound. I had to have 24-hour care, and simple tasks like brushing my teeth or even turning in a bed, I couldn't do them without assistance. I couldn't read, I couldn't study, and so career success was very much at the back of my mind. But when I got to the point where I could move out into the world again, and that took a lot of work to get to that point, when I got to that point, I found myself, when I was in groups of people, really dreading a certain question. And that question would be, so what do you do for a living? Familiar with that feeling? Yeah. Because I think the discomfort for me sprang a lot from the fact that I obviously was linking my self-worth to my ability to achieve. And it wasn't just to achieve, because I had really achieved a lot to be able to walk again, but it was achievement that was valued in the eyes of the world. I also noticed, however, that friends of mine who had been achieving throughout all these years, even though they had clocked up triathlons and PhDs, they didn't seem to feel not 1 ounce more empowered or confident about themselves than they did when I knew them way back in college. And so I started to really ask myself, well, I became really interested in this question of what is the link between success and genuine empowerment? There is an assumption that success will lead, or it is the only road to empowerment. And I really think we need to question that, particularly for 2 reasons. Firstly, my generation is certainly the first generation of Irish women who have had more control over our career choices. And the second reason is that even though if in this room you have possibly eschewed career or corporate success in order to pursue a job you find more fulfilling, it's still very hard not to get seduced by the notion that if you don't succeed at that, not only were your efforts perhaps a waste of time, but so are you. And so, in order to think about this, I want to first of all have a look about, well, what is it we consider are our notions of success, and then explore the ways in which I think that they may not actually empower us. Or let's see if they do. So firstly, what are our notions of success? So if I was to say to you, I have a friend, and she's a really successful woman, right? What images instantly come into your mind? Are you thinking that this woman is a wonderful carer, or she's a grandmother? I'm willing to bet, when I tell you that my friend is really successful, what you're actually going to think is, okay, she's obviously done really well in her job, right? That she's either earning lots of money, or she is critically acclaimed in some way. Because the word success, as we tend to interpret it now, has become synonymous with money, fame, or power. And so let's take this imaginary woman, Bess, and if she waltzed out here and she looked like she hadn't eaten in a week, and was, really stunning, and had a gorgeous husband in tow, and baked cookies on a Saturday after running marathons, and did charity work, and we would all think that she was even more successful. We think she's a really big success. Because part of our interpretation of success is that now that you can have it all, right? And if I told you that Bess hailed from the slums of New Delhi, and she had a piano dropped in her head at 20, then now we really think she was the epitome of success because she has overcome adversity. Because this is another ideal we have about success, that no matter what your background and where you come from, you can still rise to the top. And while these ideas of success seem to be really empowering, you can have it all. Yeah, you can have it all. It doesn't matter what happened to you, you can get to the top. I think insidiously they're quite disempowering. And I think this for a number of reasons. So let's just take the first reason. That is, they keep us feeling that you are never enough. It doesn't matter how much you've done, you need to do more, more, more. They keep us incessantly busy, out 5 nights a week learning Japanese and origami. And it's a really seductive idea because you really want to believe that you can have it all. You know that in your heart that you can be a wonderful mother, or you could be a wonderful CEO, you could be a great stand-up, but you just can't do it all at once. It's just not possible. And I don't know if any of you have read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Yeah, and in it, he's talking about people who are successful and examining them. And in it, he points to research that suggests it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at anything. That is 10 years of focused practice. And what happens is that if you really want to be really good at something, then you've got to sacrifice something else. There's a trade-off. I mean, Martina Navratilova, are you familiar with her? She's a former major tennis champion. And she said after she retired, she admitted then that, yeah, she actually had sacrificed a load of personal relationships to become really good at tennis. Julianne Moore, the actress, once confessed in an interview, which is rare, that she feels hungry all the time. It's actually impossible or very unusual to be that thin as actresses have to be in Hollywood, and eat enough, or eat at least what you want. It's just, so these notions that are promoted to us all the time, that you should, not only can, but you should be, and if you're not, then you're a failure, they just feed that feeling that we are failing when in fact we're just not able to do the impossible. There's a really good writer who talks about this subject. His name is Alan de Botton. Have you heard of him? Yeah. Okay, so I really like some of his stuff. He has the School of Life, which is a website.com. And he makes a great point, and that is that we are as unlikely now to become the next, we're as unlikely to become the next Bill Gates as a peasant in 17th century France was to become an aristocrat. It just seems more likely because we all wear jeans. And I agree that this notion of complete equal opportunities is an idea that we should strive for, but it's certainly not one we've arrived at yet. We have to take into account that some people are born into war zones, or born to parents they're born to drug addicts, or they come from the countryside. Inherent deficiencies that you couldn't possibly overcome. So it's not true to suggest that everybody can achieve the same level of success. And again, it puts an undue pressure on people. I also think there's the last kind of fallacy of success that I wish to address is the fact that it's going to be fulfilling. That success is really going to fulfill us. And I'm not sure if that's true. Think of all the people for whom success did not fulfill. Kurt Cobain, Robin Williams. Nina Simone, I was watching a recent documentary on her, and she was beaten by her husband, and she beat her own children, even though she was very successful in her career. I once heard an interview with a senior executive in Coca-Cola, and when she was asked, what motivates you to keep on striving to do so well, and she answered, fear. She said, I'm always afraid that I'm not going to be able to meet the next challenge, so I keep on going. And I had this image of a hamster on a wheel, and I thought to myself, this woman wasn't empowered by her achievements, she was enslaved by them. And I think the problem with this model of success is that it focuses on appearances rather than how we actually feel about ourselves. I think it's really important and wonderful to see that more women leaders, there are more women becoming leaders in the world. This is important and essential. Outward manifestations of power like this do matter. But only, I think, if it comes from a certain place within the person. If they're coming from a desire to domineer and abuse others or withhold wealth for a certain select few, then that's not empowering for society in general. It may make that person seem powerful, but it's not good for the rest of us. And when I think myself personally about what's my moments of greatest feelings of empowerment, has actually been moments where I've been able to truly accept myself in my greatest weaknesses, in my greatest flaws, my greatest fuck-ups. I could say to myself, still I could be there for myself and like myself. And then from there I could move as a more integrated person and take a wiser next step, if you like. So I couldn't, of course, that kind of success is not something that you can synthesize into a job title and brandish at a party. But nonetheless, there are moments of real power where I have felt more satisfying to me often than certain box-ticking exercises. And I think we need to consider, well, what is it we want from empowerment? What do we expect from it? Or what do we expect from success? And there is this quote that kind of accurately sums that up for me by Somerset Maugham, and it is, perhaps it is the freedom of conduct perhaps it is the freedom of conduct and speech which is envied by the unsuccessful, and not money or even power. I think sometimes we put the cart before the horse when we think that success is going to make us feel finally free enough to be ourselves. There is no good time to wait for that. Now is the time to value yourself and feel that you're good enough, to be free enough, to be yourself now. Because if you wait for success to bring that to you, and I'm not saying for a moment that we shouldn't be ambitious or have dreams or work towards those things, of course, if that's what you want. But I think you need to value yourself from the beginning and don't wait for success to bring that feeling of value to you. Because if you do, you may be very disappointed. And it's not the kind of success that everyone or that anyone else may notice. But hopefully you will feel too empowered and are enough empowered simply not to care. Thank you.
Marvelousness all around. That was lovely. Excellent, excellent. So I am a bit of a language nerd, right? I'm my own personal editor from time to time, and I do these things where I write these inane little messages in text messages to friends going, editor's correction, colon, and I'll correct some tiny little misstep, something I thought was a misstep in an email, or apologize for some random little thing I said like 6 months ago or something. And my friends think I'm nuts when I do it. It's something, things that they don't even really recognize. They call them Clara's paranoid disclaimers. So I'm going to make a paranoid disclaimer. From my intro talk there, I had said that this event is all about women, goddesses, and the supporters of the previous two. I wanted to change that word supporters to allies, because supporters might sound as if they're actually like a foundation, as if we're here supporting ourselves in our own journey of self-actualization. The word supporter can kind of go either way, but I meant it in the sense of allies. So F yeah to all the allies of women identified human beings. Marvelous. Okay. Clara's paranoid disclaimer number 5672 over. And next, we are going to have the fantastical Miss Wendy Stevens, who is a poet. She finds the process of writing and performing poetry a way of understanding her inner world and bridging the gap between it and the world outside. An excellent feat, an excellent journey to embark upon. Absolutely. Miss Stevens, come on up. Give a round of applause. Oh, you don't want the mic.
I don't want the mic, yeah. Don't know the mic. I'm hungry. I feel a hunger food cannot fill. I'm starving deep inside. I'm so hungry. I'm hungry for more. I'm hungry for life. For my life. To feel inside my skin without the thoughts of others from long ago. I want to find the courage to stop and feel the beat in here and hear how fast or slow it goes. And breathe and leave your memories to the wind. Eject them from my body, mind, and soul. Let them go. I'm hungry for the voice inside I don't yet fully know. I'm so fucking hungry. What's real? What's really, really real? I've been believing my thoughts, and sadly not the good ones. Listening to stories of blame, and shame, persuaded by that inner voice. But there are holes appearing in these tales. Big, big ones. Goddamn bloody lies. Fables, mush, fuzzy, wishy-washy crap. I've been tricked by your confident tone, but not any longer. My feet are getting stronger. They're meeting ground, belonging where they step. They find a space between the constant blows of chitter-chatter. Feet in earth. Feeling what's there beneath the noise. Softness, warmth, but also rocky, itchy, scratchy stuff. It's all there. And sometimes, well, actually quite a lot of the time, I'm back up there with that voice, listening to mush, up and down, in and bloody out. But I keep at it. I keep trying. I keep searching for holes, finding the spaces, bearing the itch and the pain. I'm trying, most of all, to remember to let the light in. Because it's always there, it's always there. Just have to remember to let it in. on those names that cause beauty to stay hidden inside. Cake tart with crust, tightened and stale. Piss on those names that leave us sad in our skin and forever wishing we were someone else. I piss on those names.
Alrighty. So, the next individual who is going to speak to us today just so happens to be one of my favorite new people on the planet. She's not a new person. She's new in my world, which is lovely. I do think there's like an age minimum to get into the Workman, so she's an established human, and a marvelous one at that. Her name is Miss Caroline Ryan, and she is the first individual in Ireland to be getting a PhD in the subject of pornography and feminism. Wow. She designed her own course of study. I love telling people this. I'm like, I'm friends with the person who's the first person to do a PhD on feminism and porn. So, more champagne? She hopes that her work can contribute to a wider, more accurate understanding of the pornography industry from the perspective of the women involved. Very noble work. She's always attending these amazing events with funky names like Sextopia, and what are some of the other ones? Sexhibition. Exoticon. Yeah, I mean, let's all go. Without further ado, come on up, Caroline Ryan. Tell us about these marvelous things that you do.
Hello. That's a really bizarre part of my life that I get to tell people I study porn for a living, because most people don't really know what to say about that. Neither does my poor mother, but that's another story. I'll just give you a bit of background on how I got into that. Does anyone know the program Eurotrash? Yeah, I think that's probably my fault on how I got into studying porn. It's because I looked at it as a teenager, as I snuck upstairs when my parents were downstairs, and I put it on. And look at all these people who had really different body types and were doing all sorts of very weird and wonderful sex acts all across Europe. And there's a lot of very hairy people, a lot of people doing pony play or existing in like German nudist resorts, and you know all these things that we didn't have in Ireland at the time. Scratch the surface, it was there. But just seeing how happy they were and relaxed, and you know obviously the program was lighthearted. And then back in the non-Eurotrash world, we have this shame and stigma around sexuality, and especially around women who dare to explore their sexuality and who dare to step outside heterosexual monogamous relationships that are meant to produce 15 children, as we have in Ireland. So I got interested in seeing all those like undercover exposés of people who went to swingers nights, or the interviews with people that said, well, they seem happy, but it's not for me, so I'm not really sure if they're happy or not. So looking at that kind of double standard of judgment, and then obviously the best place to study that double standard is the porn industry, because it's quite visible. And actually porn is an amazing lens to look at things like feminism, gender theory, psychology, politics, communication, media, literally everything. It's absolutely fascinating. I did my master's in sexuality studies in Dublin City University, which, you know, folks around are pretty awesome and open-minded. But I noticed that when we discussed porn, the voices of the people that we listened to weren't actually porn stars themselves. They were generally rich white academics who had quite a lot of privilege in the world of feminism, who would dismiss the voices of the women actually doing the job and position themselves as experts. And the people who've had 30 years experience working in the porn industry were dismissed as having false consciousness or being brainwashed by the patriarchy or not really knowing their own experiences. So that's the part that I'm kind of mostly interested in, not really the moral side of porn as such. It's more
that battle between power, sex and knowledge, which is, it's really, really interesting. So my research actually involves speaking to the women doing the job, which is quite unique apparently in a lot of circles. So I get to do amazing things like go to the porn awards in Vegas and spend my Saturday night talking about sexual repression with the guy who's playing Donald Trump in a porn movie. Very, very random situations. I haven't seen it, I'm not sure I wanted to see it. So I get to meet all these amazing women, especially who are just trailblazers in female sexuality. You know, women who set up sex shops 70 years, well not 70, like, you know, 30, 40 years ago, and ran it as a community collective, and just all these amazing women, they're just trailblazers that I go up to and go, I'm hi, blah, 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 and babble. And you sit with that, and you kind of think, you know, you make inroads into it, and you focus in one tiny little area, and it just starts turning from this mishmash of things into this lovely organised state, and you kind of go, okay, this bit links to this bit, and here's an example for this bit, and we'll put them together. So this big ball turns into this lovely organised flow of knowledge, and it's just this lovely creation. And then you kind of, you organise it, you link it, you kind of give birth to it when you're, you know, creating an essay. And then you name it, and this is your information and your knowledge and your interpretation that's subject to your own biases and your own experiences. And as a white Western woman of privilege, my experience is very different to other people's interpretations. So it's terrifying when you get to the point of, okay, this is what I've slaved over for ages and now I have to put it out to the world. And that's terrifying because people may absolutely love it and quote you, and it could change an argument and it could be all those amazing, wonderful things. Or people could tear a million different holes in it and sue you, maybe. That's going to be fun. Or else just completely ignore it and it'll just sink without trace, and your 5 years of passion and focus just disappears. So that's, all of those options are equally terrifying for a number of reasons, but they're also the reasons that drive you. And they're the reasons that drive you to be better and better and better, and to spot the flaws in your research before someone else does. And put it up there. But I think, especially as a woman, to be confident about those flaws, and you know, like you were saying, like an element of failure and an element of self-doubt, it's good in some levels because it drives you to do better and to do a better job and to be aware of that. And especially as a woman in academia and a woman studying, you know, very specific thread of feminism, it's just really important to kind of hold on to that knowledge and hold on to that self-belief of, yeah, actually I do know something and it's different to your experience, but you can have your experience and I can have my experience and they'll build on the knowledge. So it's just this really nerdy creation of Mala that we kind of turn around. It's just this amazing thing, but yes, very nerdy specific kind of thing. So I get to be really embarrassed or proud and furious when I graduate and read out the title of my thesis as I walk across the stage. But yeah, that's the thing that keeps you going, you know, that image in your head, and that's what deals with the imposter syndrome all the time of, I'm not good enough for this, I'm not good enough. It's like, no, I am good enough. People believe me enough to get me here, and you know, I get to spend my time talking about ass to mouth with my supervisor, and I explained the difference between that and mouth to ass in the Loudon bar last week, so that was really cool. And then I get to tell you lovely people about it as well. Again, seeing my poor mother. Yeah, no idea. But it's amazing, and it's just such an amazing journey, and I kind of liken it to Alice in Wonderland, because I'm slightly obsessed with her. But you know, you're chasing the white rabbit of truth and meaning about all these different acts in society that are so different to everybody else. And you know, especially when it comes to pornography, like a gangbang, my favorite example, it means so many different things to so many different people, and on various ends of the spectrum as well. And you're there chasing this little meaning, this white rabbit running through this world, and you meet characters that are authoritarian, and they're like, no, my knowledge is the correct form of knowledge, the right being, or the feminist side of things. And then you meet Mad Hatters who say that they're speaking sense and they're really not. So you have to challenge everything that they say because there's so much flawed research out there. It's like those lipstick ads, you know, it's like, well, 14 women said it was a good lipstick, therefore it's okay. So it's the exact same with pornography as well. So yeah, so it's just a quest of seeking that meaning. it's fascinating because there is no such meaning to pornography as such. There's no one universal meaning. That's what's really interesting, why people feel the need to have one interpretation that makes sense over others and stuff. So yeah, that's basically where my little nerdy brain is up there. But yes, so that's me and my nerdy little world. So yes, that's me.
I follow Caroline's Instagram, and recently there was a photograph that I truly loved. It was the picture with you and Stoya, and you were talking about how you were like fangirling out with her, and it was incredible because when I saw that photo, I felt all giddy and fangirling because does everyone here know who Stoya is? She's an adult film actress who came out to accuse James Dean, the very popular boy next door porn actor, of rape, serial rape over a long period of time. And it was all over the news a matter of months ago. And it was fascinating for me to follow that case because I felt like in some instances that I was seeing, it was the first time I've seen a porn actress actually like discussed with respect and humanity. Like it's in some cases, not in all cases, but for example, the Guardian newspaper, I felt like did good coverage on it. That's why I found out about it. And that was the first time I'd seen that because no matter who the woman is, public figure or non, I mean, they're always lambasted and portrayed as greedy liars who just want to get some man's money or something like that. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be a politician. It could be a wonderful performer, you know. And this was a porn actress who, you know, part of the reason that you're doing your work is because they're so debased in the general society's, you know, worldview. And I felt like that was an important case because it actually just put it out there that, yes, porn actresses, people involved in sex work as a whole, they can be abused too. Just because they choose to use their aspects of their sexuality for income does not mean that that cannot be abused, you know, and that was brilliant. So I love her now too, and I have never seen any of her films or anything. I was like, oh my God, Caroline's face, she's a hero! It was good. So keep doing the work that you're doing, because it's just bringing more visibility to these marginalized and silenced voices. Excellent. Moving on, we're going to have our next artiste doing a presentation for us. Ms. Vanessa March is a fantastic visual artist, a painter, and has brought a selection of her paintings here to showcase for us and give us a bit of narrative about this body of work. Vanessa? I don't know.
Oh my goodness, how am I going to follow all these amazing ladies? I'm Vanessa. I make marks. I make marks every single day. I have the best job in the world. It's not a job that pays an awful lot of money. It's quite isolating. I work at a small desk in my house. I sit down every day. I try to clear my mind. I take out my brushes and my pens. I have sometimes music on. I sometimes have talk radio on. Sometimes I have Netflix on. It's just things going on in the background because I allow all of these things to kind of feed into how I work or to give me, I suppose, inspiration as to how I'm going to go through the rest of the day. My background is from as young as I can remember and stories that I've been told. I was drawing from the moment I could either hold a fork or hold a pen. My mother, bless her, kept drawings that I had done from when I was like 2 or 3, and she would ask me what I had drawn. It wouldn't matter that it was a squiggle with something. I would give her the title, and she would write it down. So when I applied to art college in 1990, so it was a very long time ago, I actually had a number of very small drawings that my mother had titled for me when I was a small child. I got in, so I suppose it was okay, but it was always something that I think I was destined to do. I don't think I could have chosen another career path. I got through art college and I left with a degree in textile design. and I went from there into, like, I suppose, the corporate world. So I was working as a fabric buyer and then a fabric sourcing manager, and I kind of was on a trajectory of quite a successful career. Like Fiona said, it was that idea of, oh, look at me, I'm hopping on a plane and I'm flying to Peru on Monday and I'm getting back on Friday, and I had one of those old laptops that were, oh my god, they were this thick, and I had a digital camera that was the size of, it was huge, and trying to get a dial-up out of a hotel in Peru was a nightmare. But I was doing that job and I got sick. I just got unwell because I had stopped anything creative. My same mother who wrote the titles on my drawing said, you've made yourself ill, you're not creative anymore. So push came to shove, I did give it up, and I moved down to Dublin. I was working in the north of Ireland, and I overnight halved my wages, got a job selling fabric, and bit by bit I started to paint again, and I started to work, and I was doing rather well, I was enjoying it, but a lot of people who I went to college with and were pursuing their design careers would look at me and go, oh, it's so nice, look, you're painting and you've got a hobby, and you know. And I became a little bit obsessed with trying to become more successful and be more successful. I had a child, and when she turned about 4 and went to school, I thought, what am I going to do? Well, I can't just keep doing this, and I'm going to have to prove myself to everybody. So she started school, and I decided I needed to do an MA. I needed to do an MA so that what I was doing in the painting world would be accepted by all of my friends or acquaintances that tapped me on the shoulder and said, your hobby is actually really nice, you're making some money from it. Anyway, I got through my MA, I got out of my MA, and I didn't like any of my work I was doing anymore, so I just stopped. I stopped for a long time. And bit by bit, I started to take out pens and paper and draw again. And I'm a visual artist who has nothing to show you back here. It's all over there. I have no projectors or anything, so afterwards, if you want to have a look, I brought what I could carry on the Lewis. So it's all paper-based and very light to carry. And it's only a small portion of a great body of work that's hidden away, because I am the worst person in the world when it comes to going out and putting myself out on a limb and speaking like this. This was basically my fear moment, was when Maria contacted me and said, please come, I like your work, have a chat, speak amongst a room of supportive people. So I also had to do it for my daughter. She's 15, and I say to her when she goes into school and she's terrified about speaking in class, or she's terrified about doing a debate, I just say to her, it's going to be fine, you know, all your facts, get up, talk, it's going to be great. And I realised that I had to do that. I had to prove to her, I went out house today, I have to go, I have to talk about myself. So I'm going to be able to say I did it. I stood up, I talked. I have little business cards there as well. They're all handmade. I'm very crafty. So my office is the internet. So I do a lot of my communications with people all online. That's how I get to speak to the greater world. So I'm not going to keep you any longer. There's all sorts of fantastic people that have yet to speak. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Marvelous. Are you all enjoying yourselves? Yes. Yes. Can I get a oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Can I get a uh-huh? That's how I like to hear. We're gonna move along here and to another fascinating individual who does a much needed bit of work here in Ireland and overall in the human landscape. Her name is Shawna Scott, another one of my favorite new people. She is the owner of Sex Shoppa, which is Ireland's multi-award winning health and design focused sex shop. Is it considered Ireland's only feminist sex shop as well?
Let's just go with that.
I've heard that. Yeah, that's what I tell people as well. For 3.5 years now, Shawna has been running this business, which started out of your living room, basically, right?
Oh, it's still there.
It's still in our living room. Essentially, this feminist empire, this sex-positive feminist empire, where exclusively body-safe materials that are used with the products. Products made of only body-safe materials are sold in a notoriously unregulated sex toy industry, so that women can stay safe. You know, people that are enjoying themselves together don't have to worry about just like chemicals and nastiness and regret and strangeness, and just like let their inner freak fly. Hello, sex positivity is needed around the world, but I also think, again, you know, for the place that's in it, Ireland, I think is, and I am an outsider. I mean, I've been here for 3 years now, and just sort of digging deeper into the culture. It's starting to be much more visible, like feminist movements happening and sex positivity swirling around, but there still is the dying embers of this sort of, you know, Catholic stronghold on people's repressed sexuality. So I think that Sex Shoppa and its founder is doing a good job of just beating that window in. So come on up and swing that back, girl.
Yeah, as you might have noticed by my accent, I too am American. Me and Clara Rose kind of snuck in when you didn't see us. Funny story, when I first met Clara Rose, she came to an event that I did about 6 months ago or so, and she came up to me and said, "Hi, I'm Clara Rose, and I think you're marvelous." And I was just like, "You're so fucking cool." I want that shit as my ringtone, just marvelous. Yes. I started Sex Shoppa about 3.5 years ago. I had the idea for it about 5 years ago when I was in the market for a vibrator, and there wasn't a shop in Dublin that really spoke to me as a woman. I had two options. I could go up Capel Street and go into one of the shops that was very male dominated. There was always like one guy behind the counter kind of staring you down as like you went in, and it just didn't feel like a very kind of safe, comfortable place for me. Or I could go up on O'Connell Street and face the pinks and purples of Ann Summers and just that really super femme look, which is fine, but not for me. And then I also was doing research on vibrators and sex toys generally to kind of point out for myself online, and noticed that there was no regulations whatsoever when it came to sex toys. So you could make a sex toy out of any old shite, and it was perfectly legal to do so. So the biggest problem with a lot of unregulated sex toys would be that they're either porous, so they can pick up bacteria, and when they're porous, if they use plastic softeners in it, those chemicals can then leach out through the pores into your body, which is not good. So I went home to our big female-founded sex shop in Seattle called Babeland. They've got like loads of different locations in New York and one in Seattle. And everything that they sold there was made from body-safe materials, and the staff really knew their shit. They knew everything about every toy inside and out.
They recommended an excellent vibrator to me, and I went home and I was like, why don't we have anything like this in Dublin? And then I was like, oh shit, I should do this. And so that's where kind of the seeds were planted in my mind to like own my own sex shop. I faced a few challenges along the way. One of the main ones is that just being a woman, people don't really take you seriously as a business person. They see your business as a hobby rather than an actual fucking business. And I got that a lot from people. And I would just refer to it as like, and I fell into that trap as well. I was just like, oh, that's just my sex shoppa, right? And so that was like, sex shoppa was like a placeholder name until I got a better name. So I was like, I could always be better. I could always do things a bit better, have better graphic design. And I felt like I needed to hire people for everything because I didn't feel like, because I didn't have a background in business and I didn't have a background in graphic design, that I couldn't do anything myself. And then I learned very quickly that like it's much better to learn those things, to teach yourself those skills than to pay people to do it for you. And through that, like I taught myself how to make my own logo, and I taught myself how to do analytics. My boyfriend made my website for me. Like he just taught, like he had no idea how to do any sort of web design and just looked it up. Like Googled it on a weekend and had it done by Monday, and then that year we won a web award. I don't know how that happened. So I also get a lot of, and no offense to the guys in the audience, I'm sure you're all lovely. A lot of guys, just by virtue of being men, thinking that it's okay to tell me how to run my business. This happens to me quite frequently. I actually got a phone call last week from a guy who said, hi, my name is, so like just gave me just a first name, and he was like, I really like your website, I really like what you're doing, but I'm going to tell you how to do it better. And I was like, really? You're going to tell me how to, like a business that I've been running for 3.5 years, how to do it better? And it just, like, it boiled down to he just wanted me to do something for him so that he could set up his own business. And I'm like, this is not going to, this doesn't help me at all. I don't understand this. So I think one of my biggest challenges has been trying to figure out what I want out of my business. Like Fiona was saying before, there's this idea of success that people put in your brain, that you need to make tons of money. And this is something we do in Ireland like a lot, where we're like, you have to growth hacking is a big thing in the business world here, because we have a lot of tech industry, which is fine for the tech industry, but for me as a small business owner, like my boyfriend, because we're sort of in this together as partners, he's always asking me, Shawna, what do you want? What do you want? And for the first, I'd say 2 to 3 years, like up until 6 months ago, I had no idea what I wanted to do with the business, because everyone was telling me what I should want, which is millions of dollars or euros, that I want to be the next Ann Summers, that I want this and that and the other. And what I've discovered is that I don't want that. I want to be happy. I want to be able to work my own hours, which I am currently doing. I want to be able to move down the country someday, and I don't want to be working 7 days a week. I want to be able to like go on holidays. And from the vast majority of like business people I know, especially male business people, they're like, oh yeah, you will not get a holiday. If you're a business owner, you will not get a holiday for the first 10 years of your business. And I'm like, I'm not going to settle for that. I want to be happy. And it turned out, I had to have like this, like do a 180, because I ended up with a pretty bad case of anxiety and panic attacks. And that's when I had to sit down and like talk to myself and say, like, what you really want is your own hours. You want to move down the country eventually. You want to get into manufacturing, because if you do open that retail shop that everyone is telling you to open, you are not going to be able to do any of the things that you actually want. You're going to be there 7 days a week, and you're going to be miserable, and your overheads are going to be so high that you're never going to be able to afford to do anything else. So what I would say to anyone wanting to start their own business is to really have a think about what you want out of life. If you want to scale, if you want to be that tech industry, like scale really fast and like go international, that is totally fine. But you have to know that that's what you want and what you're willing to sacrifice to do for that. And for me, like, I'm going to be sacrificing quite a lot to do what I want to do. If I do get to move down the country, a lot of the business, like all the tech industry and everything that I want to do is based in Dublin. So I'm going to have to make that sacrifice if I want to move down the country and manufacture. Yeah, so that's basically, that's my story. Just really have a think about like what you want to do and what you want out of life, and that'll make things a whole lot easier.
I love how so many of the presenters today, have referenced Fiona's speech there. That was a really great start to the event, I think. Sort of set a tone, set a theme. Marvelous. Moving forward here. Oh, I just gave you a little bit of prompts there. You missed it. We were saying it's really lovely that so many of the presenters have referenced your words in their presentations. A really great.
And he didn't talk about, he didn't say the word spirit. He didn't say I'm a spiritual person, but he lived it. He was very connected to the earth and to nature, and he was very generous and kind and very encouraging. So yeah, he inspires me. So this is called 4 months later. I waited for the robin to land on my palm like it did on yours and sing the words I longed to write since your death. I waited for the skies to open, for the stars to speak, and the autumn leaves to paint some sort of heaven on earth with you in my verse. Nothing came, but waves of sorrow sweeping the weight of my bones down into the ground. Until one Sunday evening in the supermarket I saw you, standing there. The special shelf at the edge of the aisle, the height of you, the width of you, McVitie's digestives, Jacob's fig rolls and rich tea, the ones you bring with the paper on your walks from Dublin village. I wanted all of them. I wanted all of you, but the ghost of you whispering behind me like you did once before. You're sweet enough. My grief for you is a beautiful thing. My next poem, what do I say about it? So a few years ago, I changed my job and became an English language teacher. And I went to Spain for 4 months to teach English in the northwest region called Galicia. And I was working in a city called La Coruña. And that part of Spain has a very strong Celtic connection, a lot of Celtic history there, and a lot of connection to Ireland. And there is a lighthouse there called the Tower of Hercules, and it inspired this poem. And there's a lot in this poem, but one thing I'll say about it is that it's a poem written for somebody in my life who has a job helping people who really need a lot of help. And for him, that job is very rewarding, but it's very, very difficult. And so I wrote this. I didn't write the poem for him, I wrote the poem for the poem, but it's kind of for him. And it's called Lighthouse. Men who build lighthouses know a lot about darkness. Men who build lighthouses know the depths of the sea. I once knew a man who built lighthouses and love on rocks and waves around the coast of my country. He knew the dark and the light and the strength of the sea. I've been swimming through the dirt of the dark swampy waters, immersed one day by the hand of Hercules, From the Irish coast to northwestern Spain, he made me battle the whirlpools of the Celtic Sea. I learned about the light and the dark and the holding of rocks, and about love and land and how to set myself free. I now see a lighthouse and I'm close to the surface, above murky greens and browns, once a home for me. And I'm swimming and swimming up and up, for I know it is good and I know it is strong. But the closer I get, the less I can see, blinded by light that finds darkness within me. Men who build lighthouses learn the meaning of darkness. Men who build lighthouses read the waves of the sea. Their work becomes a stillness in the midst of the ocean, sacrificing safety for solitude at sea. In the dark, they build a light to guide boats home, but each man needs a light to survive at sea. So this is a very new to the world poem, and I recently attended a workshop with the poet Fiona O'Meara from María, County Cork, in a very beautiful, incredible and marvelous retreat centre called Ankara, which is named after John Donne's book Ankara. And yeah, this is just a poem I wrote there 2 weeks ago, so I don't even know if it's finished, but let's read it. And it's I was actually born in Holland and then raised in County Wicklow and spent most of my life here in Dublin. And Dublin, oh my God, it's given me so much, especially my journey with poetry has been here. And I've learned so many things, and it's thanks to events like this that have really helped me grow as a person. And where am I going with this? So yeah, I'm moving. I'm leaving Dublin and I'm moving to Manchester because that's where my boyfriend is. He's studying there, so we probably want to stay there forever, but he's out. But anyway, I'm leaving, and this is about that, and it's called Two Pigeons. You told me about the two pigeons sat on the branch outside your window, the tree you remembered I'd admired looking out, before lying next to you for the first time. You watched me from your pillow and waited. The two pigeons are sat side by side, you told me. It must be their home, luscious green amid red brick. They must be a couple. From time to time, one flies away. Sometimes they are touching. Now, there's a distance wedged between them. The two little birds, like bookends. There's 200 miles of sea between you and me. I sign it in black ink on the census form this Sunday night. You don't make the cut. Like my grandfather or his daughter in heaven, I'm starting to learn there's a needed distance. Ours has a body, and it too needs to survive and love something. And yeah, I'm going to read one more. Thank you, Maria, for having me. Thank you, Clara, for hosting. And to everyone for being here and sharing. It's very inspiring and moving. Yeah, so thank you. This is another recent poem, again, another one that I'm probably going to tweak a little bit. And like, as a poet, I'd say I'd like to be careful with sharing your work. Think about where you're sharing it and who you're sharing with, because it's vulnerable. And but it feels good to share this one here, so I'm going to read it. And this is about healing. I was diagnosed with endometriosis this summer after years of struggle, and the diagnosis of a condition like that for women, the average length of time before a woman gets diagnosed with that, something like crazy, like 12 years or something, because it requires a diagnostic surgery to diagnose it. And yeah, so this is called The Mother. It's just a short. The Tropic of Capricorn is etched between my navel and my pubic bone. I place a rose there. Lavender, ginger, and marjoram. days I clench toilet roll holders, fold my mother and press my belly against hot pipes grieve from my body. I dream of my grandmother and the child she could not let go. I feel her hands on my shoulders and her breath on my neck. I offer her feathers, crystals and gold. I offer her sticks made with prayers, poppies and ribbons. Rippling from my womb is the great-grandmother's secret that the waves on the moon are made of fire and stone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That was a real treat because I've seen Lisa's name around so much, a very active poet in the Dublin scene and the Irish scene. There's so many beautiful things. It's the first time I've actually had the pleasure of witnessing your excellent syllables. Were those not excellent syllables? Excellent syllables, darlings. Yes. Let's give another round of applause for Lisa. Please excuse my syllabic missteps here when they do happen. I'm actually going to Paris at 5:30 in the morning and moved house on Tuesday. So it's been like crazy week. And in addition to preparing for this and getting myself all like steeped in like, feminist goodness. So I'm like, no, warrior for the cause. Be there, be like, focused warrior. But within that focused warriorship, I might stumble a syllable or two. So I've been sleepy products. But moving forward here, before I introduce the next speaker, I would like to say something that I love so much about Ireland is the fact that spoken word and the arts are so richly and fundamentally intertwined within the fabric of society. Like, so many events will just have a poet, a spoken word artist, just doing their thing, a poet in between rock bands, at shows, in the downstairs workman's room or Whelan's. That Ireland loves a storyteller. And I love that so much. It could be a feminist event, it could be a, Irish fans of NASCAR event. But there could be a poet, various artistry that wouldn't feel out of place, And it's just so important because the arts, creativity, that's what erases boundaries between human experiences so effectively, possibly the most effectively, Someone writing a poem about their individual experiences, they could have a background completely opposite to yours, and all of a sudden you're right there in their footsteps. Our next speaker is Shirley Graham. She is a feminist, a women's rights activist, and the founder of Inspiring Woman, a community of women on a journey to reclaim themselves, their talents, their passions, their brilliance, and their joy. Women who want to live their biggest and most beautiful lives, and she orchestrates such opportunities. Now that's a cause I could get down with. Come on up here, Shirley.
Thank you for such a wonderful welcome and introduction. It's such a pleasure to be here tonight. It's been such an amazing evening. Thank you, Maria, for organising it. It's been incredibly inspiring and uplifting. And thanks to all the speakers. I have here my notes, which I will be referring to. But I just want to start off with a line of poetry that I have woven into my heart over the last couple of years. And it has really helped me to be encouraged in my life and on the path that I am on. And I think probably many of you will know it. The time will come when with elation you will greet yourself arriving at your own door in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, sit here, eat. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. That's a line from Love After Love by Derek Walcott. And I start off with that because it's the theme of what I want to talk about this evening. And it's been the theme of the evening, is coming home to ourselves, being ourselves, and really fully expressing ourselves in the world, in whichever way is completely natural and authentic for us, but not always easy. So why did I create the Inspiring Woman community? Because, probably like many of you, I feel this deep frustration of my own self-censorship. A censorship born out of feeling different, of not belonging, of feeling out of step with society, that tells me I need to act the same as everyone else to fit in. A culture that separates us from each other through competition and comparison, and that separates us from ourselves and our deep inner knowing by telling us that we're not good enough and that we need to keep proving ourselves over and over again. When I was a little girl, I loved to sing and dance and recite poetry. I would entertain passengers on the bus, dance down the street, and sing at the drop of a hat. Yes, I was that young. I even performed in festivals, and sometimes I won prizes. And then one day, something different happened. I froze on the stage. It was the first time I felt self-conscious, and I felt judged. And I remember feeling confused and upset as I hurried through my poem and ran off the stage. I was 9 years old. It was from that day that I began to bury some of those creative impulses, those parts of me that felt too precious, too vulnerable to share with the world. Those parts of me that made me feel different. Until little by little, over many years, I became so armoured up, I no longer knew who I was. And, perhaps not surprisingly, I was deeply depressed. So when I found feminism, it was a huge relief, because it showed me that it wasn't just me who felt like this. It explained to me the societal forces that were shaping me and silencing me. The patriarchal system that told me that as a woman, I was less important than a man. That my voice, my experience was not as valuable. That told me I needed to control my body, my sexuality, and censor my desires and my longings. That silenced my tongue from voicing its truths of violence, inequality, and discrimination. So our institutions, as we know, and the systems within them value some people over others. And call it unconscious bias or call it whatever you will. But in most of them, the masculine is valued over the feminine and the male over the female. There is a privilege of men over women, and this is revealed through higher salaries, senior positions, political and religious power. The underrepresentation of women in the science, the arts, sporting bodies, and the media, laws that control women's reproductive rights, protect rapists and perpetrators of domestic violence. This is having a traumatic effect on generations of women and girls. In fact, it was this knowledge, this deep fissure of pain that awakened me. This was my hell in the middle of the night. I feel the grief from knowing that child soldiers are being forced to become suicide bombers. I feel the grief from knowing that women are being kidnapped, raped, and forced into sexual slavery. I feel the grief of knowing that so many men and boys are taught to hate each other and are given weapons and told to slaughter each other in war. And I feel the grief from knowing that we are burning the rainforests and destroying so much of life on our beautiful planet. But I also know the deep shame that comes from feeling so much, so deeply and so compassionately. I know the pressure to not see, to not hear, to not feel the pain of others. I know the pressure to bury my head in the sand and be distracted by things, by a focus on work, producing, getting on with it, whatever it is. I also know the deep rage that comes from not expressing our grief. And it is this rage, born out of the pain of separation from ourselves and from others, that creates so much violence, greed, and destruction in the world. That reinforces the oppressive trinity of patriarchy, capitalism, and militarism. It is not surprising, therefore, that at times we can feel pretty hopeless, helpless, and disempowered. But there is hope, and we do have power. We know already from everything that's been shared tonight, so many gains that have been made, so many women now in political positions of power, so many women setting up their own businesses, so many women forging new paths in the sciences and the arts and challenging the legal status quo. So we know so much change has happened and continues to happen. Today, there is a global movement supporting the rise of this feminine consciousness in both men and women. And this is an energy born out of peace, love, and forgiveness. It is this divine trinity that brings us home to ourselves. It is love that brings us back to who we were meant to be. This transformative spark is inspiring so many of us to reach into ourselves and call forth all of our courage to become who we really want to be, so that we can stand up to these oppressive forces and instead build caring, inclusive communities, respectful of each other's difference, and creating a world that feels like a home for all of us, where we can all belong. That's why I imagined the Inspiring Woman community, because I wanted to create a space where women could meet one another and know that they were not alone, where they could share their experiences, where they could affirm each other's desires and dreams and acknowledge each other's talents and skills. Get curious about what matters to them, to us, to me, to what we really care about, what we value, and what we want for ourselves, regardless of what society tells us we should want as women. And there's no doubt about it, this path of reclaiming ourselves is not an easy one. It is full of 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But when we are making small daily acts of resistance, by not laughing at sexist jokes, for example, or not justifying why we are doing what we are doing if it does not fulfill other people's ideas of success for us, then that is liberating. Every morning we wake up and we decide to be more of our authentic selves, that is liberating. Every day we courageously say yes to who we are by stepping into our power and being the change that we want to see in the world. That is an act of resistance, and that is liberating. So to finish, our most courageous choice always is to be truly ourselves and to come together with other women on this path who are living their biggest and most beautiful lives, because when we unite, we are stronger and we can make a difference and we can change the world.
hands. Amen. Oh, now that was a religious experience right there. That was excellent. Brilliant. I'm loving the vibes in the room tonight. This has been such a great event. Thank you all again so much for coming. And thanks again to Maria for organizing this. Let's give Maria Ortega also loving the international flavor here tonight. It's women from all over. It's very cool, very cool. Now it is with an extremely heavy heart that I must say we have just one more presenter. Can I get a room-wide? But we've all been so inspired. It's a great big isn't it? Oh yeah. Our last marvelous, powerful, excellent female creature this evening is Miss Julie Le. How do you pronounce her name? Le Carrere? Le Carrere?
Le Carrere.
Le Carrere.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Excellent. So welcome to your country in just a few hours. Julie Le Carrere. She is going to be performing some intuitive dance for us this evening. She is a healer, a performer, an intuitive artist. She gave me some words to read about her tonight to get us in the mood for her excellence here. It's a bit, it's not your normal run-of-the-mill kind of dance. We need to put ourselves into a certain space. This evening, Julie will give you an experience of her healing work with first, some channeled movement for energy clearing. She'll then take you on a little inner journey with an intuitive, guided visualization. Get ready, y'all. And we'll end with one creation. I am, you are, we are a warrioress. Come on up, Julie.
Hi, thank you very much, Clara. To start, if you're able to, if you have a drink in your hand, if you can put it down, and if you're able to, wherever you're sitting, you just stand up for a second. And I want to invite you to just stretch a little bit, just the way you would do it at home, and just shake a little bit, like, just imagine you're kind of allowing, your mind and everything, amazing inspiration that you've had today to kind of spread through your body by just shaking your hand. Just close your eyes and take a deep breath, like a breath from your belly into your chest. And imagine that the breath exhales through your feet. And your feet are embracing Mother Earth, like they're snuggling together and they love it. You can feel like you're really grounded. Now just bring your hands to your face, if you can. And just pass your hands through your hair. Imagine your hands are just spreading love, respect and attention to yourself. You can do it in your own rhythm a couple of times. And keep breathing. So we come back to our body. And in your own time you can sit down again. Thank you. So I'm going to take you a little journey and just allow yourself to be guided. Close your eyes. The sky is so blue. It's so blue that when I look at it, I am in wonderment. I can receive, I can feel its love for me. I look up, and just through its beauty, it's saying, I love you. Look at me, remember, I love you. I am the beauty that you are. Look at me anytime, and remember. And the sun joins the sky. Hey, look at me too. I love you too. And when you feel my warmth spreading on your skin, know that I am infusing you with the power that is yours already. So look at me, the sun, and remember your power. So imagine now you're outside, feeling this love and this strength from the sun and the sky. Where could you be? In the most green of fields, or the most beautiful beach with warm, soft sand, tingling the sole of your feet. Where do you want to be? You can be wherever you want. And look around you. And look around you in surprise. All the women and men in this room are here. They are there with you. They were also looking up at the sky and receiving looks love from the sun. And you recognize each other, even if you don't know each other. Hey, oh yeah, we're all together in this. Of course. And so you stay where you are because you stay always in your own presence. But you look around and you connect with each one of those souls that are around you. You don't always need to look at each other. You open your heart. You connect soul to soul, heart to heart. And maybe you start to sing together. The communion of the voices. Without speaking, without talking, all there together. You can feel the beating of the earth under your feet, and you're aware that it's beating through each of everyone's bodies at the same time. Maybe not necessarily in the same rhythm, but it's coming through. And you can all feel the songs, the vibration, even if unconsciously. And you recognize, hey, you are me also, I am you. We are each other. And while you're connecting to every heart, you all together look up at the sky again and at the sun, breathing that love and that strength and that remembrance of who you are. And imagine that all your hearts, all that energy is coming together as one. And you then visualize every woman on the planet and open your heart to her, to them. Knowing that they are sharing their hearts with you. And every man on the planet, every being, every tree, every river, sharing the heart, sharing the power, sharing the sorrows, the pain and the joy. Yeah, I know what you're going through, sister. Yeah, you got this. You got this. When you come back to yourself, you come back to this room here now. Maybe you'll feel more connected to the people, to the amazing person present here. Maybe more to yourself also. It's your own experience and it's valid as that. It's always beautiful. When you're ready, you may open your eyes. Thank you. So I've got one more thing that has 1 minute 50. I just need to change quickly and I just.
And do you want me to put your name or
Women, it is the awakening. Of the sovereign feminine. We've had enough of being domesticated, raised and taught, and claim ourselves. We remember who we truly are. Goddesses, priestesses, witches, warrioresses with the rage for love, justice, and peace. Our power is infinite, secret, and wild. Sensuality is our strength. Mothers, lovers, creatresses. We are fiery with our will, beautiful in our determination. We all march with our heart fiercely wide open. We are women. We are women.
Now, I don't know about you, but my molecules are all fired. Gosh, that was awesome. Another round of applause for Julie. Wow. Bringing us home with an unprecedented high note. Marvelous, marvelous. Now, we have come to the end of our evening. But before I bring up Miss Ortega García to have a couple closing words as the fantastical organizer of such sentiments and empowering stories and advice and just like rah, cheerleader style, ally, excellence, and support that has gone on tonight. I want to first make an announcement and then also do one closing little bit of poetry for you all that hopefully gets your feeling sort of empowered as well. And in a very different way than Julie just like, oh, you start vibing. That was so great. Using words to maybe dust off some of the corners of your mind where you have some unhelpful memories and mirages of people sitting around that don't allow you to fully self-actualize. Let's hope that's what happens here with this peach champagne I'm going to offer to you. But before that occurs, I would like to draw everyone's attention to not those shouting people, but the flyers that was in everyone's seats for public speaking. That is for the business of our marvelous first speaker, who was given a nice little, oh yeah, halfway through the show for inspiring so many of our speakers, as well as I'm sure the audience. Her awesome public speaking coaching business is info about it there. You guys please make sure you take one of those home and check her out online. And with that being said, all of our performers and speakers tonight are findable online. The normal places, social media, as well as specific websites, which will all be available on the awesome website that Maria made for this event, awakencreatress.com, where I'm sure she's going to list her future events that are going to be coming with more regularity. So, excellent. Round of applause for that and everyone again tonight.